All right, man, peace. So Stephen A. and Max, they also had a very good conversation pertaining to LeBron in regards to his performance as a point guard for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And they also made a comparison between him and Magic Johnson. Of course, they're going to talk about it. I'm going to chime in.
Gentlemen, the King was in action too, though. Let's get into that. The Cavs moving around the lineup last night with both Isaiah Thomas and Derrick Rose sidelined. So the lineup shuffle included moving LeBron to point guard, the first time he started there since 2005, and he did not disappoint. The King posted a game-high 34 points and 13 assists to lead the Cavs to a win.
I'm looking for my guys a little bit more when I'm starting at the point, especially in transition. I'm kind of being more of a precision passer. I'm not kind of full speed ahead in transition. I'm kind of looking and seeing what's going on, getting my guys involved. But for me, I just try to stay in attack mode when need be, and then once I see the high hand start going for my guys and get on the ball.
All right, Max, the King doing his thing, but LeBron playing point got us thinking about Magic Johnson. In his greatness, Max, who would you rather have at point guard, Magic Johnson or LeBron James?
This reminds me of the story.
Look, let me say this really quick. LeBron James is a phenomenal all-around player. The greatest point guard of all time is Magic Johnson. There's really not much of a dispute. I believe that if LeBron had played point guard for his entire career, that it may have been a better conversation. But off of one performance, particularly in a totally different era, it's really unfair to even compare him to Magic as a point guard. Now, as an overall player, that is a very relevant debate. I would still probably take Magic overall, but it would be close. It'd be very close.
I bring up from time to time, Stephen A.
Story time.
When the Portland GM heading into the '84 draft calls Bobby Knight, who just won a gold medal with Michael Jordan, and said, "Who should we draft?" And Bobby Knight says, "Michael Jordan." He said, "Yeah, but we need a center." And Bobby Knight famously said, "Draft Jordan, play him at center." If the question is basketball and Michael Jordan's not an option, then the answer is LeBron James. Magic.
I don't know about all that. I don't know about that one. I believe that if the answer is not Michael Jordan, then you have to have a very intense discussion. I do not believe that the difference between LeBron James and Magic or Bird is as large as people make it out to be. I don't believe that the difference between them really exists at all. I believe that you can throw all three of their names in a pot, and whoever you pull out of that pot, would be suitable to get all of the tasks done that you would expect them to get done. All three of those players, to me, are in the same class, in the same sphere.
Magic Johnson, as a pure point guard, is the greatest who ever lived. Not arguing that. But you do more than just run the point, even as a point guard. You can defend. You can defend multiple positions. You can do whatever it takes to help your team win. You can score, all those things. And LeBron James is a better basketball player than Magic Johnson. He's more athletic. He's much better defensively. He shoots better. He doesn't pass as well as Magic. That's because no one who ever...
I don't know if LeBron shoots better than Magic Johnson did. I don't know if I would go that far. I think that particularly in the second half of Magic's career, I say from about 86 to 91, he was a very, very deadly shooter. And it's very hard to quantify Magic's effect on the Lakers. Please keep in mind that Magic led the Lakers to the finals in 91 without Kareem. And they were competitive throughout the playoffs that year until they ran into the Bulls, who were, nobody was going to beat them that year. That 91 Bulls team is probably one of the top 10 most underrated teams to have won a championship.
Ever lived passes as well as Magic Johnson. But whether he's playing at point guard or power forward, the answer is LeBron James. Stephen A.
In no way am I trying to say that Magic Johnson is better than LeBron James. That's sacrilegious. It's blasphemous. It's flat out idiotic from a basketball standpoint. And
it's amazing to hear Stephen A. talk about Magic Johnson in really such denigrating tones, to say that it's not even a conversation. To me, that it is more than a conversation. It's definitely a debate. Magic Johnson has 5 championships. LeBron James has 3. And, people will say that Magic Johnson played on a much better overall team. I think that for his era, Magic Johnson played on a super team. LeBron James is playing on a super team in his era. Magic Johnson has never had a performance like LeBron James had against the Mavericks. Now, Magic did cost them the victory in the finals against Boston in '84. But, you never really had any other issues like that. And even in the '84 finals, he showed up. He just didn't show up in the clutch. LeBron didn't show up at all against the Mavericks. Like, he was horrific.
And I get that. But to answer the question directly in terms of a point guard, I'm picking Magic Johnson. And I know that Magic Johnson is not the talent that LeBron James is. I'm not smoking something.
When you say talent, I guess he's talking about from an athletic measurables perspective. No, Magic is not going to, he's not going to jump over people like a LeBron James. But there are certain intangibles that a Magic Johnson brings to the table that even a LeBron doesn't bring. Magic had an unmatched court awareness, peripheral vision. As great as LeBron is, as gifted as he is in those areas, he's not a Magic Johnson. I think even he would tell you that. In addition to that, Magic did a much better job playing within the system that the Lakers played. Now, they adapted their system to a running fast break style, really not just to suit Magic, but to suit all the great athletes that they had on their team. When you have a LeBron James on your team, everything has to run through him. He's not very good off the ball. He's not as good off the ball, I should say. Magic being a point guard, that really wasn't necessarily a factor for him. But like I said, it is a discussion. It's not clear cut like these two are trying to make it out to be.
But Magic Johnson, the 5-time champion that he is, not 5 NBA Finals losses, that's number one. Number two, we're talking about a point guard, so you got to think pass first and everything else later. We're talking about a guy that operates in the clutch. We're talking about a guy that leads and galvanizes troops. And we're not talking about an individual that has stars, the quality of a Kyrie Irving looking to play with somebody else. Those are the kind of intangibles that you have to pay attention to when you're talking about a point guard on a basketball team. Again, like I said, I don't want anybody to confuse this issue. From a talent perspective, LeBron James belongs on the Mount Rushmore of basketball.
Well, yeah, if by talent you mean athletic abilities combined with performance, yeah, he belongs on that Mount Rushmore. It would be Michael, him, Wilt, and somebody else. But other than that, if we're talking about overall skills, LeBron is not on and accomplishments. LeBron is not on the Mount Rushmore. The Mount Rushmore is Jordan, Bill Russell, Kareem, and Magic. That is the Mount Rushmore. Now, if you're talking about athleticism combined with performance on the court, then it would probably be Jordan, LeBron, Wilt, and either Dr. J or Kobe. One of those two would be the last pick. It would be up to the it'll be up to the evaluator who you put as that last person.
He's one of the top 4 NBA talents, all around NBA talents in the history of basketball. But when you talk about a point guard, you're talking about passing ability, you're talking about orchestrating an offense, you're talking about being a leader of men.
Agreed. All those things Magic has over LeBron, particularly the leadership aspect. As Stephen A. so rightfully said, nobody ever left the Lakers saying, I don't want to play with Magic.
Both on and off the court. I'm not saying that LeBron doesn't try. I'm not saying he hasn't improved upon that. I'm not even saying that he's not a good leader. I'm saying that there have been times in his career when that has been a question mark. You haven't had that question with Magic Johnson throughout his illustrious career. And not only that, last point.
I will say this, though. In the documentary that ESPN did on the Lakers and Celtics, there was a little tension with the early Lakers and Magic in the early 80s, right before they got rid of Paul Westhead and brought in Pat Riley. But that was more jealousy from his teammates who were veterans at the time in regards to Magic's relationship with Dr. Jerry Buss. I did a video on that, on Magic Johnson and Jerry Buss, called The Master and the Apprentice. Jerry Buss was the person who introduced Magic Johnson to the seedier aspects of of LA and Hollywood. Also keep in mind that Jerry Buss brought Magic to Hugh Hefner and introduced him to that lifestyle of MK sex slaves and things of that nature. But that's neither here nor there.
When you look at the NBA, and I think this is something that we don't bring up nearly enough, the game has changed dramatically. Right now, you can get called for a technical for having bad breath.
Yeah, I've already stated that, Stephen A. That's why it's so hard to compare, because LeBron is playing in a much more fluid era than Magic was, particularly in the late 80s. In the early 80s, and really throughout the 80s, the defense in the 80s is a bit overrated. The defense did not really become stern and hard until the early 90s. That's when that's when the game got extremely physical. And you saw the scoring go down in the mid-90s, and it was an issue that the NBA had all the way until the early to mid-2000s. All right, the defense in the 80s is a bit overrated, but it was much more hands-on than today.
That's how it seems. That's how soft the NBA has become with all of these ticky-tack fouls and everything else. Magic was at a decisive advantage, just like LeBron James would be, because he's so much bigger and taller than most of the opponents going up against him, which is why he could look over an offense, and obviously you can't give him so much credit for that. The flip side is the game was so physical, so significantly more violent than it is today. So much of the stuff that you had to go through that involves the intangibles as well as the tangibles are things that yesterday's players had to deal with that today's players don't even have to think about.
Let me say this. For people who like to compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan, there's a video on YouTube, I can't remember the name of it, that shows you the way that the Detroit Pistons used to guard Jordan and how they used to foul him specifically. I can't remember the name of it, but it shows you some of the fouls that they used to put on Jordan. Those fouls that they used to lay on Jordan, not even talking about in the playoff series, in the regular season. Today, people will be suspended for a lot of those fouls. Not even kicked out of the game. They'd be suspended a game.
I take all those things into consideration and give the point guard extraordinaire that was a 5-time champion going up against those great Celtics teams and Magic Johnson. I give them all the credit in the world. That's why I'm not taking it away from Magic.
Magic Johnson is the starting point guard on the all-time team. No one debates that, right? He's the starting point guard.
Well, shit, you just said that LeBron is over him at point guard.
Because you're playing LeBron at forward.
That was the question.
Because you're playing LeBron at forward. Because LeBron's a forward.
I don't know about that. To me, and I'm sure people will disagree. I still wouldn't put LeBron necessarily over Bird. I think that is a great debate and a great discussion in regards to LeBron James versus Larry Bird. Now, what does LeBron have over Larry Bird? He has longevity, and he has a much less competitive Eastern Conference. Larry Bird had to go back and forth with Philadelphia in the early 80s, and he had to go back and forth with the Pistons in the mid 80s. All right, and he still was able to get 3 championships, and he also won 3 straight MVPs, which is something that LeBron James was not able to do. Now, people will say that LeBron James deserved 3 straight MVPs. No, I don't agree with that. I believe that Derrick Rose got a justifiable MVP in 2011, and I believe that Kevin Durant definitely got a justifiable MVP in 2014. So, I think that the Larry Bird, LeBron James debate is one that really hasn't been broached, that really should be broached, because before Larry Bird hurt his back, he was as good and as effective as any player to ever play.
That's why Magic Johnson.
But the question was,
but
the point
on the
guard.
Mount Rushmore, as you said,
Wasn't the question point guard?
Where there are only 4 slots, LeBron is on and Magic is not, right? So LeBron's the better basketball player overall.
Okay.
I want to address what you said about Magic and the era in which he played. You're right. He was the unicorn of his day. He was a 6'8", 6'9" point guard playing against much, much, much shorter guys, and that gave him a tremendous advantage. And by the way, it's not just like, oh, he had an advantage because they played a tall player at point guard. He had the greatest point guard skills of all time in that package. That's what made him so extraordinary. LeBron James, when he runs the point now, may have to go up against the Greek Freak, Ben Simmons, guys who are 6'11" and can handle the rock. And
yeah, well, that's very true. But Magic oftentimes, he would also have freaks on him, guys like Dennis Rodman, who, before he was known for being a tattooed up guy who got a whole bunch of rebounds in the early to mid 90s, he was known as a guy who himself could guard 5 positions. Dennis Rodman was a back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year winner. All right. If I remember correctly, he won it back-to-back. If I'm wrong about that, one of you brothers can correct me, but I believe he won it in 1990 and 91. And he was the guy who would guard Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan when they needed him to. All right. Dennis Rodman was a freakish athlete, and he could do everything back then that guys like Antetokounmpo could do now in regards to athleticism.
Can pass and do all those things. He's at a disadvantage in terms of that. That is true. I don't know if you count that against LeBron James's point guard skills. Second thing, look, Magic Johnson had the most successful rookie campaign in the history of basketball, maybe team sports in America. When you consider that as a rookie, he was not only the most sensational rookie that season.
Feel free to continue making my points.
No, Max, you're wrong about that. And I'll let Max finish, but Magic Johnson had a good rookie season, but he wasn't even Rookie of the Year. He was able to seal the deal in the finals, but I wouldn't say he had the greatest rookie campaign ever. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar probably had the greatest rookie campaign ever. And I mean, if we want to go further, a guy like Michael Jordan, who came in first year, averaged 28 a game on 51% shooting from the field, led his team in shooting, rebounds, and assists and steals.
Feel free to continue making my point. Go ahead.
But he jumped at center in the finals and gave him 42, 15, and 7 in a Game 6 win.
Yep.
But that illustrates my point, Stephen A. He jumped at center. In other words, part of Magic Johnson's greatness was the versatility. Now, was he more ready for the playoffs than LeBron was right away because he'd won a national title and went to college and LeBron never did? Clearly he was emotionally more mature and ready to deal with that. What's that?
All right. Keep
then
making
LeBron
my point.
was. However,
the more you open your mouth, the more you're making my point.
They also called him Tragic Johnson for a reason. Tragic Johnson. And he didn't always meet with playoff success, Stephen A.
Thank you, Stephen A. It was only 1 year, and his statistics were not necessarily totally off kilter to what he was expected to be at that point. You know, in the early 80s, Magic was like a 17, 18 point per game guy. You know, he'd give you 17, 18 a game, about 12 assists, and about 7.5, rebounds. When you got to the late 80s, and then Magic started to give you 22, 23, even 24 a game, 12.5, 13 assists, and 8 rebounds. LeBron James has never played center in a big spot for his team in regards to jumping ball and playing center for the entire game. That's just not something that he's ever really done. Magic is known for having done that and sealed the deal for a championship. So what Magic did in his rookie year against Philadelphia will always set the standard and set the tone for him as a great clutch player.
1 year in the loss to Boston, Max. 1 year.
But that was because of mental errors he made in the game.
Hold on. But that was after he had already won a couple of titles.
All right, but LeBron's won a couple titles.
Hold on, wait a minute. I said it was after he had already. It was after he had already won the titles. I'm not saying it wasn't LeBron James looking for a title in his 8th or 9th year. Magic had already won a couple.
So the chronology of when you win affects the importance of the win?
It matters.
Why?
It matters. Here's why. Because you have to elevate yourself to a point where somebody already was. That does matter when you're evaluating talent.
Wait, it doesn't matter that you got there?
No, I'm not saying it doesn't matter, Max. Listen to my point. What I'm saying to you is this. If I come into the equation and I'm already on that level from day one, you maturating to that point.
I think the term is maturing, but who knows? Maturating could exist as a word. One of you brothers can correct me and look that up.
That does become a part of the evaluation. It doesn't take away from you in terms of your greatness, but you have to acknowledge the fact that what you needed to grow into, I already became.
Well, I don't know if I agree with Stephen A. on that point. A lot of Magic's initial success has to do with the team that he joined. It is a big help that even though you were the number 1 pick in the overall draft, that you come onto a team that already had a player who's probably ranked even higher than you on the all-time greatest list. And as Magic Johnson, you're considered almost consensus-wise a top 5 all-time player, but you come and join a team that has arguably the greatest player to ever play in the NBA. So that has a lot to do with initial success, Stephen A.
By the way, we just had that argument out of Kershaw. That's my argument for Kershaw. If you have to develop that, the time where you were no good counts against you. But so does tragic Johnson count against Magic. Even if it's after the fact, you still messed up in the playoffs, still cost your team. And the bottom line is once LeBron got the hang of it in the playoffs, he became like, LeBron has had final series now, Stephen A., that no one except Jordan has ever had. Or maybe...
No, sir. When you're talking about, the greatest finals that any player has ever played, and really going back in the last 25 plus years, you're basically talking about Jordan, and you're talking about Dwayne Wade's performance in 2006.
Or maybe Bill Russell. LeBron has had final series.
What are you talking about?
Thank you, Stephen A. A lot of these people who, they really want to make themselves feel really smart by talking about how great LeBron is, because they know that they can quantify it through the metrics that LeBron specifically plays for. What truly makes Jordan the greatest is that most of the players back then in the 80s, they were not really cognizant of what they call these high-level metrics today. True shooting percentage and things of that nature. But even by those qualifications, Jordan is greater, or he's the greatest player ever. And he really did not even play according to those metrics. LeBron goes out on the court and, he basically summarizes it by saying, I make the right basketball play. He goes into the locker room at halftime and at the end of the game, and he wants to look at all his stats because he wants to know how proficiently he played, because he knows that 20 years from now, 25 years from now, people are just going to look at the stats. They're not going to see how somebody played. But like Stephen A. said, Max Kellerman, what are you talking about? LeBron James was not a great performer in the finals until his time against Golden State, the last 3 finals. That's when he's put up big numbers in the finals. Prior to that, he has not performed well. He was terrible against the Spurs in 2007. He was horrific against the Mavericks in 2011. He was good against OKC. He was pretty good against the Spurs. He was great the last 2 games of that series, really the last game and change of that series in 2013. In 2014, he was good. 2015, he basically played the LeBron system. He had the ball 80% of the time. He put up big numbers. He didn't shoot well. In 2016, he had a great last 4 games. And in 2017, he had a great stat stuffer series.
What do you mean? What am I talking about? It's totally clear.
Max Kellerman. LeBron lost titles, and then ultimately he lost 2 titles, then ultimately won, but then lost again, and then won again.
Well, somewhere in there he lost a couple more times because he's only 3-5, Stephen A. And his ass really easily could be 1-7.
Magic won and then lost and then won, and that's somehow different.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, to a certain degree, when you consider the time and the competition that he was going up against, yes.
Hold on, time out. The competition, LeBron James with Matthew Dellavedova as his second best player faced the greatest regular season team of all time, 73-win Golden State Warriors.
No, sir. No, sir. You got to take some of your pills that you like, your amphetamines, because you got to get your shit correct. Matthew Dellavedova was the second best player against the 2015 Golden State Warriors. The 2016 team that was 73-9, he had all hands on deck. It was actually the Golden State Warriors who were underhanded, or undermanned, I should say.
Should
LeBron James and the Miami Heat have beaten the Dallas Mavericks?
Yes.
Right. Did it happen?
And LeBron choked it away. I acknowledge that.
All right.
Conversation over. Thank you, sir. Next segment, please.
All right,
absolutely.
Excuse me. When they lost to the Spurs, they had beaten the Spurs the year earlier. Now, when Ray Allen saved the day, it could have easily been 2 finals losses. But they.
No, sir. Try to say that it easily could be 7 finals losses, because that Golden State series that they won in 2016, so many things had to fall in line for the Cavaliers to win that series. It was crazy.
But they should have won.
Yeah,
but they
and they
was
lost.
good enough and favored to win those.
Stephen A., we agree about this. The first one doesn't count. He didn't have anyone on the team.
No, sir. It doesn't work like that. No. It would be nice if we could all go back in history and just say that doesn't count because I didn't have enough manpower or I didn't have enough experience and things of that nature. Unfortunately, when we look back in antiquity, all we can see are the results. Fact of the matter is that LeBron James lost in the finals in 2007. Was it a phenomenal accomplishment and achievement for him to lead his team there? Yes, it was. But he still lost. Okay? Now, I would buy that theory more that finals doesn't count if in 2011 he had performed how he was supposed to perform. Then we could look at 2007 as an anomaly. He did not play well in those finals. It wasn't just that his team got swept. He didn't play well. Once again, they were playing the LeBron system. And it was something that he had to be taken out of. Look, certain people might not like this, but I've always said I don't see any Magic Johnson in LeBron. When I see LeBron, I see a steroided up Scottie Pippen. I see a steroided up Grant Hill. He played the same style in his first run in Cleveland that Grant Hill played in Detroit in the mid-'90s, and Scottie Pippen played in Chicago for the year and a half that Jordan was gone. Bring the ball up, run a 1-4 set, make all the decisions. Everything runs through him. All right, that's basically the system that they played in his first tour with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
The second one was just amazing.
I'm talking about the other two with the Spurs. I'm not bringing up 2007.
Credit for the first
Talk about
one
the other
getting
two.
to the finals. The second one he choked.
Yeah,
He
why
did
are you
not
bringing
choke
it up?
away
Nobody
that.
even thought about that. Nobody even thought about the first one.
Well, shit, I thought about it.
First one with the Spurs. We didn't think about that.
Right.
I'm talking about when he was in
did not
Miami.
choke away the second Spurs series. The Spurs were simply a better team. They were an all-time great team.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't choke away the second loss to the Spurs in 2014. They were just better. And also his teammates kind of gave up on him. I think that his teammates were as done with him as he was with them because they did not play hard down the stretch of that series. And I think that it got to be kind of obvious to them that San Antonio was the better team. You know, they kind of went through the motions like they were trying to play hard. But Dwayne Wade was nowhere to be found in that series. He was terrible.
They were being compared to the greatest
And what were the
team
Miami Heat?
basketball-style teams of all time, and they beat LeBron and the Heat. That's how it happened.
And what were the
Magic Johnson
Miami Heat?
also lost in...
The Miami Heat were a team that was at the end of his run, Stephen A. That shit wasn't built to last. Miami was not built to have a 7-8 year run. You know, they had their little run and it was over, you know? It's like the Beatles. Beatles had their little 4-year run, it was a wrap.
Lost in the finals,
And
by the
what
way.
were the Miami Heat? What were the Miami Heat?
What were the Lakers when they lost to the Celtics?
Excuse me, you got Tim.
The Lakers, when they lost to the Celtics, they were the most talented team in the NBA. So you really kind of make Stephen A's point for him. You know, you're trying to say that San Antonio was better than the Heat, and Stephen A said, well, what about the Heat? What were they? On paper, one would think that the Heat had more talent. So the fact that they pretty much should have gotten swept in that series, it really only makes it look worse on LeBron if you're trying to use that as a barometer for his greatness. That's Stephen A's point.
Tim Duncan, you got Kawhi, who was still a baby and growing into his own, and experienced and elderly Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, who showed up and deserved credit for it. But
Tony Parker was phenomenal in that series against the Heat in 2013. 2014, he wasn't quite as good, but 2013 he was incredible until he hurt I believe he hurt his knee. I think it was game 1 or game 2 when Tony hurt his knee. But he was busting their ass, boy. Before he got old, Tony Parker could bust anybody's ass, especially going to the basket. 2014, he wasn't as good, but their team was they were just running on automatic that whole series, that whole playoffs. The Spurs were, the Heat. Their only chance to win a championship in 2014 was if OKC had been able to knock off San Antonio. And when San Antonio, I believe that was the year that they beat OKC in overtime to get to the finals. I believe that was the year.
when you talk about D-Wade, Bosh, LeBron, Ray Allen, and the crew, you trying to tell me it was definitive that San Antonio was the better team?
Are you trying to tell me that when Magic had Kareem and Worthy and everyone, it was definitive that Boston was the better team? But he sometimes lost in the finals.
I'm not trying to tell you that. What I'm saying to you is the combination of the talent combined with the times that they were playing in. You have to take into consideration the fact that Magic Johnson came into the league a winner and validated his winning capabilities from day one.
Well, Steve, that's a little rough to say because Magic Johnson came onto a team that had arguably the greatest player of all time already there. So from that standpoint, that's not really fair to LeBron. He came onto a team that was moribund, had never really won anything, and he was the transformative player. He was the initiator of their change in team or organizational culture. Magic Johnson was coming onto a team that at that time in 1979 when he got there had the greatest, arguably the greatest player of all time on the team at that moment, and had just won a championship 6 years before, or pardon me, 7 years before in '72, where they had at that time, up to that time, the winningest regular season of all time with 69 wins, and they had all-time great players in Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, and Wilt Chamberlain. So that team had a culture, they had a history of winning that Magic Johnson came into. It's very hard to compare when you say one guy was an instant winner and the other guy. Now, when you look at a guy like Larry Bird came onto a Celtics team in 1979 that the year before had won like 21 games, and then he brought them to 61 games. Okay, now that's more comparable to LeBron than Magic.
And LeBron came into the league as a teenager and developed into the second greatest non-big of all time, but the first isn't Magic, it's Michael, putting LeBron ahead of Magic.
The question was
it's close.
It was about point guard. It wasn't about all that other stuff.
I don't care if they're playing point guard or center, I'm taking LeBron.
All right, gentlemen,
Okay. Love you,
that was
Magic.
fun. Magic's got the cold.
That don't make you right about the point guard.
Let's leave it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Max Kellerman, as usual, he's confused. First he said Magic's the greatest point guard of all time, but he's going to take LeBron over Magic at point guard. So I don't know. I guess maybe he didn't get the right pills to go with his coffee that morning. All right, so now we're going to finish out this little last secondary segment that Skip and Shannon had on LeBron James. Let's see what they have to say.
Last night, LeBron started at point guard for the first time since 2005. He finished with 34 points and 13 assists as the Cavs beat the Bulls. After the game, LeBron talked about the position change.
Ever since I was a kid, I've always learned every position on the floor. When I started playing ball, for some odd reason, I could learn every single position on the floor all at one time. The point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center, and know all the plays, what they're doing, and what's the reads. And to this day, obviously, still, if coach slides me to the 1, I know every step. If he slides me to the 5, I know the 5. I know the 4, I know the 3, I know the 2. I know every single play in every single position.
See, the same way that LeBron can say that he understands every position and what they should be doing synchronously on the floor, during the medieval time period, great generals or men of war would know what every troop on the battlefield should be doing at that moment. That's what makes a great general. That's what makes a great leader of men in combat and in war. These were things that great kings during that time period were able to do and know, and that's why they call chess the game of kings.
So it makes the job a lot easier for me because I know where I should be and where my teammates should be.
Shannon, should LeBron stay at point guard?
Stop it, Skip!
LeBron should stay at every position. Everything he do, just keep doing it. Been doing it great for the last 15 years. Where the hell should he move to? I mean, shit.
He's a savant.
Yeah.
Knows every position.
And he has
step.
to remind us.
Yes!
Yeah. You don't have to tell people when you're the best player on the
And
floor.
he didn't tell you he was the best player.
You have to just-
He was saying the reason why his job looks so easy is because he knows every position.
For some odd reason,
For what?
when he was a little kid, he knew every position.
Little bitty boy. Little bitty fella.
Born genius.
Yeah.
I agree. He is a born genius. People have genius in different endeavors, different fields. He is a genius when it comes to basketball. There's no doubt about that. The way that his brain works, it almost is a curse as much as it is a blessing because it makes him overthink when he, is put in pressure situations. He has a hard time just going with the flow because there's, the information is overloading in his brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he should remain. Back to your question, Joy. Yes, because he's the
Hell yes. A man should stay right there. The only reason he should move over point guard is if I play with him. You know, when we have our pickup game, I play the point guard, and I say, baby, you go over and move over to the 3. You know, don't step on my toes. I'm gonna dish it to you. We play the pick and roll. You know, you got any problem with it? We talk about it at home.
the best point guard on the team. Who can do a better job of initiating the offense than LeBron James?
Agreed.
Not Derrick Rose.
Nope.
Not Calderon. And Isaiah Thomas needs to get used to playing off the ball when he returns.
That is correct.
Sometime during the All-Star.
If then.
And I spoke about this when they first picked up Isaiah Thomas. I stated that I believe that him and LeBron may clash a little bit during the season because Isaiah Thomas is used to being the alpha male on the Boston Celtics, and he's going to have to be a supplementary player with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he's going to have to come to terms with that. And I think that's going to, that's tough. That would be tough for anybody to, that's like a demotion. Anybody who's facing a demotion is not going to deal with it very well, even if they keep the same salary. It's just really just a matter of status. People feel like they've worked hard to climb up the ladder in whatever whatever their job is, whatever their vocation is, and whatever field they practice it in, and to be demoted in any type of way, it is hurtful. So that is something that Isaiah Thomas is going to have to deal with.
Then.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. We're still going to win the East, okay?
Yep.
Whether he's there or not.
You can talk all the shit you want to talk. I mean, damn, this is like the third or fourth segment we've had on LeBron today. Why don't we just change the name of the show to LeBron? Fuck Undisputed. Just call it LeBron.
Nah.
You got sold a bill of goods. You realize that?
Doesn't matter.
Yep.
We moving on. Kyrie wanted out. We wanted him out. Clearly.
Yeah, we don't want no nigga here don't want to be here. Next one out is Double T. Running around filming practice and filming workouts and shit. I had to take the red eye out there to Cleveland last week to deal with that shit, me and LeBron. I just got back yesterday morning. I said, if I got to fly out there again, it's to be whoop somebody's ass.
We do it just
like... wanted out.
Okay, fine. We get what you... Be careful what you ask for, Skip Bayless. Anyway. And I believe this lineup with LeBron at the point, JR at the 2, Tristan at the 5, Kevin at the 4, and Crowder at the 3.
And then me coming off the bench. I'm going to be the sixth man. That's the best lineup for the team.
I believe this is not only their best offensive unit, this is also their best defensive unit, and it provides the spacing that they need offensively. Because the reason why LeBron was able to get into the lane is because you got a stretch four in Kevin Love, you got Crowder can shoot the 3, and obviously JR can shoot the 3. So now where do you double? You want to double down on it if you want to. We just gonna kick it, Brown. You see him whip that ball behind his back to Crowder for that 3.
Yeah.
Did you see that pass, Skip? Remind me when I was a little kid. The Harlem Globetrotters came down to Georgia. I went and watched it. I said, oh, wow, look how they moved the ball. I never felt like that again since yesterday when I saw my man throw that pass. I said, shit, baby, I didn't know you could throw a pass like that. You don't pass it to me like that. The hell wrong with you? I want to feel special.
And then he twisted his ankle. It fell his ankle. He had to shoot the ball, and they got another 3 over there. So that's what I'm saying.
How did he keep playing on that? He's got 2 bad ankles, and he played 37, a game-high 37.
37 minutes.
It's a miracle.
And
What you mean how he did it? You had the same question an hour ago. I told you. The man's a Superman. Don't ask that question again. I'm starting to feel like you got amnesia or some shit. Let me find you got Alzheimer's. Let me slap your ass. Maybe you can get your memory back.
I don't know how he does. And guess what? Gave you a game-high 34 points, a game-high 13 assists, and what else? And a partridge and a pear tree. At some point in time, Skip Bayless, you need to put some respect on the man's name.
I'm putting lots of respect.
No, you're not.
I've said for years and years, predating you, that he's the best point guard in basketball when he decides to be.
I agree with that. I think that LeBron could be the best point guard in basketball if that's what he really wanted to be. I think deep down that's what he'd like to be because it would take a lot of the pressure off of him to be expected to make big shots in clutch moments. That's really not his forte.
No.
Yes,
he's the best player.
No, he's the best point guard.
No, he's the best. Name another.
Skip, what is it? Why don't you read my lips? Because you obviously got a hard time hearing. He's the best player, not just today, of all time. When you going to accept that shit? I swear, I'm not leaving this show till I get you to admit that. And I promise you, the day you do, I'm leaving the show because I don't want to hear no more of your bullshit.
Name another player. Can Kevin Durant move the point? Can Steph Curry move to the 3 or the 4?
No.
Can Russell play the 5? No. He can play all 5 positions. He told you he knows it. He knows the steps they're supposed to take at the 5.
Yep.
That's why it makes his job easy. He says, I'm a savant without telling you I'm a savant. I just know everything.
I thought LeBron James was extraordinary last night because he had to be extraordinary because in the first half alone, they gave up 65 points to a Chicago Bulls team who at home against my Spurs on Saturday night managed to score 77 total points. 65 you gave up?
Well, look, we already know Cleveland's not a good defensive team. They haven't been for a long time. Defense is not, it's never really been their forte. That defense is not really the forte of most of these teams in the NBA right now. And LeBron is just not the player that he used to be defensively. He cannot move his feet like he used to move it. Or like he used to move them, pardon me.
So now I'm seeing shades of last year's 22nd worst defense.
God damn, Skip. You know all the damn stats, don't you? Why don't you go coach the team? You know how many points they scored last night to half? You know what they ranked defensively? Well, why don't we fire Coach Lou and make it Coach Bayless? Don't kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You can be close to LeBron and you can also coach the damn team. That you know every damn thing.
That LeBron and company are playing because LeBron just doesn't play much defense anymore. He's a little up there in age and he focused.
Well, shit, you wanted to talk. Let me know. What was it like to cover, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar back when he played in elementary school? What was that like? Wasn't that your first interview?
Focuses on playing point guard, and I'm fine with that. But this isn't a very good defensive team. And all of a sudden, in a game I thought was going to be a breather because the Bulls are probably the worst team in the NBA this year. They're now 0-3, and they're hanging in with the Cavaliers in LeBron's house.
Kind of like the 49ers.
Are you kidding me?
Hanging in there with a lot of teams.
Hanging in.
But the L.
Yeah, well, they didn't hang in with my Spurs. We beat them by 10, just cruising, 87-77.
In the words of Rob Parker, what's on the menu for sports?
Yeah.
Wins and losses.
Okay.
No appetizer.
So LeBron is playing 37 minutes, playing almost the entire fourth quarter against Paul Zipser. That's his guard name, Paul Zipser. And I'm thinking, are you just piling up stats?
Look, LeBron has done enough in his career that the success that he has on the court cannot be diminished based on the guy that he goes against. LeBron has come up on 30,000 points for his career. It doesn't matter who he's doing it against. So, that's just a quibble.
Is that what you're trying to do? Because at the end of the game, there's a minute left in the game. They're up 6. They're still cruising. And LeBron on a switch gets Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen is a 7-foot-tall rookie who weighs about 185 pounds.
Stop!
Yeah, well, Lauri Markkanen whoop your ass. I know that. Why don't you go out there and go play Lauri Markkanen one-on-one? Bet money you won't score not one basket. I don't think you ever scored a basket. No. Talking about you play on your high school team. Doing what? Picking splinters out your ass.
Stop saying that. You know good well he weighs more than that.
He does not. And LeBron, of course, do we see this? He just takes him right to the rack, left-hand layup. It's like no big deal, and it kind of ices the game. And then what does LeBron do? He goes toward the bench, and he's giving it there.
He's like, I'm shaking him off. Shake it off.
Yeah,
Shake it off.
He's flexed.
You know what, Skip? I see what the problem is now. This is the second time you've asked to see this damn replay. I see what the problem is now. You want to steal my man, don't you? You want LeBron, don't you? I finally figured the shit out. A year and a half doing the show with your dumb ass, I finally figured it out. You know, you better keep your ass here at the studio. If I see you getting near LeBron, it's gonna be, it's gonna be hell up in Harlem.
He's flexing his shoulders like he did something big.
He did.
Big
Shook him off.
That was a big bad move that he put on Lauri Markkanen.
Yep.
What's he doing?
Yep.
What's he thinking?
First round pick, Lauri Markkanen.
Somewhere Michael Jordan was laughing out loud if you were watching that game.
No, he wouldn't. Somewhere Michael Jordan was choking on a damn cheap cigar. That's what he was doing.
Was he laughing when LeBron Smith dropped 35 on him? Was Jordan laughing then when LeBron Smith dropped 35?
Oh, shit. Only Shannon would know some shit like that. For those of you who don't know, there was a player named LeBradford Smith who scored like 37 points on Michael in a game. I think he played with the Bullets. He scored 35 or 37 on Michael. And that was the first game of a back-to-back between the Bulls and Washington. So the next game, Jordan had like 37 at the half.
Lord have mercy.
Oh, I
Is
think
that
so.
all you got?
Yeah, I
Reaching
didn't
back for
think
that?
so.
Yo, Shannon. Shannon is so ridiculous.
Paul Zipser is guarding LeBron, and we're putting him to the far left on Mount Rushmore on this show this morning.
No.
Yeah,
no.
that's what we're doing.
No, that's not what I said, Skip.
Yes, you did.
The question was, why would you answer the question? Should he remain?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Shannon to just snap or skip one day. I need to see that shit. I'm tired of your ass. You know what? It's me or you. Time for you to go.
He should. It's their best fit. I agree with you. But he and they are going to have to play some defense, or they're going to get in trouble against Kyrie's Celtics at some point.
You see, Kyrie, the third lead. You see, every
Kyrie, Skip, try a little harder. Say John Wall and the Wizards. Say something. You know, don't say that little nigga up there in Boston. You know, ever since Hayward went down, they ain't got no damn chance. They got no chance in hell. I'm more worried about the damn Boston Patriots, the Boston Bruins beating Cleveland and the damn Celtics. Please.
everybody, how many times was Kyrie the third lead scorer? Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. That can't be sitting well with him.
Lauri Markkanen?
Shooting under.
You're going to flex your
shooting
shoulders
like
on Lauri Markkanen?
He's shooting.
You love that move, don't you? You keep doing it. You know, with your damn pigeon chest, trying to flex. What kind of workout plan you got, Skip? Always talking about you working out. Can't see not one muscle through your damn blazer. You know, you look like that little boy in the movie Big after he went back to being a little boy from an adult. Just clothes all oversized. Why don't you come work out with me? I can give you a little muscle tone, a little mass. Looking like Pee Wee Herman.
Around 40%.
Really? This was supposed to be a breather. Do you realize LeBron James has already played the third most minutes in the NBA through 3 games? I thought this was the year you back off. You save yourself from yourself. But assistant coach Lou can't tell him anything.
Yo, Skip, keep calling him assistant coach Lou.
Why you think he spends all that money? He doesn't spend that money just to sit on the sideline and play 28 minutes. He says, I'm in peak. He's an apex hunter.
Yeah, so now we get to hear in the playoffs, I'm worn out, man.
I
spent too many minutes. I played.
When he dropped the triple dub, did he look worn out to you?
Which triple dub?
Triple dub in the fight.
Good. See that exactly. Good question. Which triple dub? Because you and me both know he got so many damn triple doubles. Your cataracts having ass can't count them. You know, you can't even see them.
In the 5 games.
They lost in 5 after he blew game 3 at home.
Why is he playing the most minutes? Is a cakewalk
What's he
through the
doing?
East.
What's he doing?
Who the hell included your ass, Miss Petty? Just stay in your place and read from the cue card. That's what you're good for.
He's a basketball player, and that's what they do.
Are you stuffing? Are you stuffing the stat sheet? Is that what you're doing?
He don't need stuff no shit. That's automatic.
We gotta leave it there. The Dodgers take.
Shannon almost cursed. He said, "We ain't got to stuff no shit." Oh man, yo, these LeBron conversations that him and Skip have, they classic, man. But anyway, peace.